So Confined is it's a story about Donnie, whose wife gets kidnapped, and he's left these video messages showing her being held hostage by the man that took her. And the man gives him a week to find her. And his whole thing is, if you find her, I'll return her to you and I'll disappear. But if you can't find her, then she'll disappear and you'll never know what happens to it. And it all stems from a car accident, this multi-car accident they were in 2 years before, where Donnie hit the other guy's car and killed his wife. And it's this guy's way of bringing revenge back to Donnie because he blames him. But you find out like he brings in the other people that were in the car accident and brings them into it as obstacles for Donnie to overcome as he's trying to find his wife. And there's specific things that this guy has and does to sort of lay out this whole game that he creates, right?
I tried to tell them that if we go for that argument, the judge will not listen. Ortez is logic-based. The client is going at it such an emotional way. I tried to tell them that if we use that argument, the judge won't go for it. It amazes me how people have an emotional reaction and expect everybody else to understand how that is. And I mean, when you're the one in the situation, clearly you understand it better. The client just isn't hearing me.
I hear you, babe. They come to you for advice and don't follow it. The meaning of ignorance is having access to information and simply not using it.
Heavily influenced by two movies, Saw and The Game. Is kind of where, I know, shocker, right? James Wan, David Fincher, we've talked about that. That's kind of where the original idea came from. But I originally made it as a movie called Watch, which I made in 2009. It was my movie right before Devil's Point. And I just didn't have the resources and networking back then that I did when I made Confined. So much more limited in the actors that I could cast, the camera. I mean, we shot it on old standard video. Like, it just, the locations weren't as good. So it turned out okay. Like, it wasn't. We did the premiere at like a library conference room. Like, it was just very different, right? When I went to do Confined, I wanted to do another movie where, and there's a lot of backstory to this as far as kind of how I really wanted to experiment. The movie I made before that, Streets of Syndicate, which I know we're going to talk about, I had to do some reshoots, and I had experimented with DPing myself and a lot of those things, and very mariachi style and that kind of stuff. And I wanted to make a whole movie like that. So I decided, I was like, well, I'll take the Watch script. I had these other ideas that I didn't put into the script because I couldn't pull it off. So I rewrote about half of it, but kept the same core of the story, renamed it because I thought Confined was much better than Watch. And I pulled actors in that I already knew, and because I was doing this very experimental, so I wanted it to be actors that I already knew, or at least was connected to in some way, that would understand, like, hey, this is not going to feel like a typical movie. There's going to be, like, two crew people on set, whatever. So almost everybody that worked on it, I had worked with in some capacity or knew through somebody.
Hello, Donnie. Probably never thought you were going to see me again, did you? Shame. I did try and warn you. Oh, you're probably wondering about your wife. Here she is, safe and sound. And she'll stay that way, with me, confined. That's actually what leads me to making this little video. I'm here to outline the rules for you. You have a week. 1 week to find her. Don't go to the police or she dies. And if you fail to find her, well, you're never gonna know what happens to her.
We shot it really quickly. So what I did is I was shooting every other weekend, and we started shooting in early February of 2019. We finished shooting early May. I had the whole movie edited, sound design, music, everything done by the end of May. It was a 4-month process. I mean, it was that fast. Made it for less than $2,500. I mean, there's just, and $1,000 of that was the sound editing. So literally we made the movie really for $1,500, if that. Yeah, it was very documentary. We shot it completely in available light. There's no artificial lighting except for the storage unit scenes where I have these 2 small LEDs that I put in the corners just to light the actors a little bit. But I even used it in the movie as like, that's the lighting that the bad guy uses, right? So I even put that in the movie. But I literally shot it with nothing but available light. There was no grips, there was none of that stuff. I shot it myself. There's shots that are out of focus, but we shot that movie in 11 days, and it's an 80-minute feature. So that's the equivalent of about 7-8 pages a day.
For him to
understand what he took from me.
From us, Noah. She wasn't just your wife, she was also my sister.
No one loved her like I did. It is my responsibility to bring meaning to her death. I will do that by teaching these people the lesson they couldn't learn the first time. And I will do that any way I see fit.
Come on, Mike, don't be a hater. He's building a fucking basketball team down here.
Austin, you shut up. You're gonna do more harm than good.
So that was really what Confined was about, was really a complete and utter experiment. And for the most part, it was successful. You know, there's things that aren't great in it, and that's okay.